Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Ashtottara Shatashri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 2, The Activities of Maharaj Agnidhra, Text number 2. Sacha kadachit pitraloka kamaha suravaravantika vanita kiridachalodronyam bhagavantam vishwasrajam patim abhrata paricharyopakarana atma ekagrena tapasvi aradhyam bhabuva. Word to word translation, please. Saha, he, King Agnidhra. Cha, also. Kadachit, once upon time. Pitraloka, the Pitraloka planet. Kamaha, desiring. Suravara, of the great demigods. Vanita, the women. Akrida, the place of pastimes. Achaladronyam, in one valley of the Mandara hill. Bhagavantam, unto the most powerful, Lord Brahma. Vishwasrajam, of personalities who have created this universe. Patim, the master. Abhrata, having collected. Paricharya, upakaranaha, ingredients for worship. Atma, of the mind. Eka agriyena, with full attention. tapasvi, one who executes austerity. Aradhyam babhuva, became engaged in worshipping. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Oh, all right. Fantastic. You're saying repetition is not okay? Okay. Text number 3. This is long too. Tat upalabhya bhagavan adipurusha sadasi gayantim purvachittim nama sarasam abhipayam asa. The verse on the board says too. Anyway. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai. Understanding King Agnidhara's desire, the first and most powerful created being of this universe, Lord Brahma selected the best of the dancing girls in his assembly, whose name was Purvachiti, and sent her to the king. Purport. In this verse, the words Bhagavan Adipurusha are significant. Bhagavan Adipurusha is Lord Krishna. Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Krishna is the original person. In Bhagavad Gita, he is also addressed by Arjuna as Purusham Adyam, the original person, and he is called Bhagavan. In this verse, however, we see that Lord Brahma is described as Bhagavan Adipurusha. The reason he is called Bhagavan is that he fully represents the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is the firstborn creature in this universe. Lord Brahma could understand Maharaj Agnidhara's desire because he is as powerful as Lord Vishnu. As Lord Vishnu, situated as Paramatma, can understand the desire of the living entity, so Lord Brahma can also understand the living entity's desire for Vishnu. Can understand the living entity's desire for Vishnu as a via medium informs him. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 1st chapter, text number 1, Tene Brahma Hrida Ya Adikavaye. Lord Vishnu informs Lord Brahma of everything from within his heart. Because Maharaj Agnidhara specifically worshipped Lord Brahma was pleased and he sent Purvachiti, the Apsara, to satisfy him. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So this chapter is the pastimes of Maharaj Agnidhara, who's the son of Maharaj Priyavrata. And Maharaj Priyavrata has resigned from his post as the emperor and gone into the forests or mountains for performing penance. And his son Agnidhara, who, although the son of a great devotee, has material desires. And his material desires, meaning he is a very pious person. However, his desires are in the realm of karma kanda or material piety. And so he desired to go to the Pitraloka and make that his destination after this life. Now it's described that to go to the Pitraloka, one needs to have a good son. And to have a good son, one should perform proper austerities. So as he's performing these austerities, and especially if he wants a son so that he can ascend to the Pitraloka, his wife needs to be a heavenly damsel. Anyone from around the earth planet will not work out. So he went to a valley in the Mandara mountain. That's where the heavenly ladies, they frolic. They come for, it says, Vanita Krida. Krida means sporting pastimes. So he went there to meditate. Yeah, right. But that's what he did. And he wanted to please Lord Brahma, because Lord Brahma will gift him one of these wonderful ladies. So the principle of karma kanda, or the principle of living piously in this world, piously or impiously, to survive in this world, one should acknowledge that one is dependent on others. The fathers or the previous generation is dependent on their previous generation for wisdom, for guidance, for shelter, etc. And they're dependent on the next generation for helping them move upward in the trajectory of the cycle of karma. It is said that to have a son who doesn't perform his duties as a son, then you've really messed up. They're dependent on the son. So that's the, I guess, responsibility. And so he wanted a son who will send him to Pitraloka and keep him happy in Pitraloka for many, many thousands of years. And the way to do that is when the son offers oblations to Lord Vishnu. It's called Pindodaka. Pinda and Udaka. Pinda is basically, I guess, food, and Udaka means water. And this is offered to Lord Vishnu every year as part of the Shraddha ceremony. And that Mahaprasadam is offered to the forefathers. And the forefathers, when they get Vishnu Prasad, they become very satisfied and they're relieved of any distresses that their subtle bodies might have. So here, once a year, in the month of Shraddha, we get way too many bags of chapati flour. We get many bags of rice, little this and little that. This is not actual Shraddha ceremony, but it's the Chicago substitute, Chicago version of Shraddha ceremony. People bring some groceries and keep it here. Actually, a Brahmana must recite certain mantras in the name of the forefathers. You have to give some dakshina to the Brahmana, some food, clothing, money, etc. So, dear King Agnidra, he had this desire. And so he propitiated Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is called Adipurusha in this verse, although the title Adipurusha belongs to Lord Krishna, Govindam Adipurusham. So Lord Brahma is Adipurusha in this context, that he is the first person within this universe. So it's not wrong to call him Adipurusha, but he cannot be called Adipurusha in relation to Krishna. So that's one point. The second point, which is the more important one, and that's something we'll discuss a little bit, is that Lord Brahma could understand the desire of Agnidra. Now, the only person who understands the desire of every living entity is Lord Vishnu as Paramatma, because he resides in the heart of every living entity. Now, here an important principle is provided, that two personalities can communicate with each other even without saying anything, on the platform of Paramatma. That Paramatma is the medium, is the person who communicates to either of them or to both of them. So in this case, Lord Vishnu, who is Paramatma, communicated to Lord Brahma. This is what Agnidhara is looking for. So the qualification of Lord Brahma to be able to receive Lord Vishnu's message is that he is very pure. Now, purity has many facets and it has different connotations. Sometimes we find young devotees calling other not so young devotees pure devotees. You're pure devotee, pure devotee. So purity has many grades, just as gold has grades of purity. 18-karat gold is pure to a certain degree. 22-karat gold is pure to a higher degree, and 24-karat gold is purest. Similarly, every devotee who's cultivating Krishna consciousness has some percentage or element of purity. But one should be careful in calling them absolutely pure devotee. And also in purity, there are dimensions. One may not have all the fine 26 qualities of a Vaishnava in their fullest. But one may be very committed to one's spiritual master. One may be very committed to the process of bhakti. They're pure in that sense. Here Lord Brahma is the manifestation of all 26 qualities of a Vaishnava. And most importantly, his will is in complete alignment with Lord Vishnu's will. That means he doesn't do anything separate from Krishna's will. This is the, top grade, highest form of purity. That one is completely surrendered one's will unto the will of Krishna. And so that person becomes a via medium. Krishna acts through such persons. And these persons are called instruments or nimitta matra. So the perfection of a devotee's life is to be an instrument. And by being an instrument, Krishna moves that particular person or persons to manifest his desire. In this case, because Agnidhara was desiring certain things, and Krishna is known for fulfilling one's desires according to one's quality of desires. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam tathaiva bhajamyaham. And if one desires something material, then according to their karmic deserve, Krishna will fulfill those desires. If one desires to go to a different planet as destination, then there are ways by which Krishna will fulfill that desire. Yanti deva vrata devan, pitrun yanti pitruvrata, bhutani yanti bhutejya, yanti madhya jinopimam. So first of all, it is said, one should be very careful what one desires for. Because according to desire, our activities manifest. And as activities manifest, the desires become stronger. And then Krishna reciprocates with those. So one should be careful what one desires for. If anything, one should only desire for service. That's the safest desire. When we say service, we mean the attitude of being a perfect instrument of Krishna. That's the epitome or pinnacle of service attitude. So the spiritual master is glorified throughout the three worlds, Ebe, Jash, Gushuk, Tribhuvana. The glory is that he is a perfect instrument, a transparent instrument of the personality of Godhead. So we have heard many times that the spiritual master is not super soul. Yet, the super soul informs the spiritual master of everything that's going on. Of course, we shouldn't have an idea that when the spiritual master is, let's say, lying down, then he gets a message. Bhakta, such and such, is eating 6 gulab jamuns right now. Or Bhaktin, such and such, is having an argument with her husband right now. Not like that. But the spiritual master is endowed with this capacity that when the disciple says something or does not say something, by looking at them, he has a sense of what might be going on. Or when the disciple is in conversation with the spiritual master, then the right thing to be said at the right moment is provided by the super soul. Otherwise, one relies upon certain other faculties, material faculties, to figure out what is to be said. So it's important that one develop this idea of being a transparent medium. And it doesn't come. It doesn't come just by saying, "Oh Krishna, what should I say?" Also, that's a good start. But because the spiritual master is completely aligned with Krishna, Krishna speaks through that person, knowing exactly what is the other living entity's situation. What do they need to hear at that very moment? One time, one of my godbrothers asked my spiritual master a question. He was supposed to travel on the next day's flight or that day's flight. So he asked him, "Maharaj, have you checked in?" So Maharaj said, "I have. Have you?" And he didn't have an answer. Because have you checked in means Maharaj took it as, are you connected to Super Soul? He said, "Yes, I have. Are you?" So this checking in is our way of connecting with the Super Soul. Because without the Super Soul's empowerment, we cannot speak, we cannot say. We can speak and say, regardless, it's still empowered, but it is not in any way serving anyone. So our speech, our body, our mind are meant for serving others. A person who doesn't use these three for serving others is actually exploiting the facilities of material energy. Because that's the only two things you can do. You can either serve or exploit. So if one is not serving, then one is exploiting. So to serve, one must be guided by Super Soul. And that's how Lord Brahma is setting that example of being the transparent medium for Lord Vishnu. To become a transparent medium, the process is process of Bhakti Yoga. Without engaging Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tat Paratmena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchyate. So these designations that we have, they are the inhibitors. They are the obstructions in being the transparent via medium. So these upadhis that we have, I am such and such, I am the husband, I am the master, I am the controller, I am the enjoyer, I am such and such. Whatever is the designations, the list of designations that we have, these designations obstruct one from being a transparent via medium. And so one responds to situations, to persons from those designations. It's called false ego. Because of false ego, we have designations. So in our day-to-day exchanges, most of the times what happens is that our responses are from our false ego or conditioned nature or our upadhis, our designations. So when two false egos clash with each other, it's not like there's going to be something nice and wonderful coming out of it. Nothing. It's just like two metal vessels banging against each other. Except for loud noise, nothing comes out of it. So each person, or as a practicing devotee, it is very important for us to develop progressively, cultivate the attitude, the mood of being a servant of Krishna so that we can serve the persons in that circumstance. If one loses that service attitude, one loses access to what is really happening in the situation. And after losing access to what is really happening in the situation, one only sees things from his or her perspective. It is the single, one-dimensional vision. Meaning, I'm right, you're wrong. That's the one-dimensional vision. Like the other day I had said, between husband and wife, this is the rule. The wife is always right. That's the first rule. And second rule, if you are right, refer to rule number 1. So like that, it's a one-dimensional view. I am right. And in many cases, that is true because we respond according to how we see things. So it is true when we say, I'm right. But what's not completely true is, I don't know the other pieces that fit in. Not only that, my way of understanding a particular scenario, a particular person, is colored by my designation. If I am angry, that's my designation. I am angry. And that's how I see things. If I'm hurt or upset, that is how I see things. And from that point of view, whatever I see is correct, in the sense that it is relatively correct. But a devotee is meant to see things far beyond just their own perspective. And that's not possible unless one becomes purer in one's actions, mind, and words. So very important as we are interacting with each other, not just we, but as we interact with any other living entity, to understand their situation requires, beyond our capacity, a higher objective view, which the Paramatma plays that role. Udasinavad asinam. Krishna describes that I'm always situated neutrally and I'm seeing everything as it is. That vision is important. Otherwise, we will be operating in the relative field. And in the relative field, there is one thing that always becomes clear, is that there is clash or disagreement. Therefore, Kali Yuga is the place where there's always disagreement. Because people are very stuck in their relative vision of things. A Brahmana is called broad-minded because a Brahmana has a vision higher than the relative vision. Brahmajanati iti Brahmana. Means a Brahmana can see things from the spiritual vantage point. Versus those in Kali Yuga, where Prabhupada says almost everyone is Shudra. Shudra means narrow-minded view. Narrow-minded in the sense, cannot see something outside of one's own situation. In fact, a Shudra cannot even see his own situation properly. There is a story of a person, a woodcutter, who went to gather some firewood. And he climbed up a tree, sat on a branch. That's where I heard it's called, sat on a limb. And he was chopping the branch where it connects to the tree. And he was sitting on that branch. So a person walked by and he told him, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm gathering firewood." "Do you know if you chop that, you will fall down?" So he asked him, "How do you know? Are you a fortune teller? Can you see the future? Do you have a special vision?" So for this person, it was just common sense. I said, "No, it's just, duh." He didn't know how to explain it. He said, "If you're not such a person, go away. Don't bother me. I know what I'm doing." Chop, chop, bam. And he ran after that person. He said, "You must be a very great person. You have the ability to see the future." So the heavily conditioned Shudra cannot see how things manifest in his life. Not just things, circumstances. And acts very much without any cognizance of a broader set of things that will affect him. So it requires another person. In this case, we're talking of the super soul. It requires the super soul to give us a little reminder, a little tap on the shoulder saying, "What are you doing?" So in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 2nd chapter, Prabhupada quotes this verse from Katha Upanishad multiple times. Samane vrikshe purusho nimagna. That on the same tree, there are two birds. One bird is very busy eating the fruits of this tree, while the second bird is just observing things. And when one bird flies, the first bird flies from one tree to another tree, the second bird also accompanies. If we did not have the company of Super Soul, we wouldn't know what we're doing. We wouldn't know anything. We wouldn't know to put the toothbrush in the mouth. We put it in our ear. Or we wouldn't know how to gather things. We wouldn't be able to do anything. But the Super Soul has a purpose beyond that. Basically, the Super Soul is facilitating us in doing our karmic activity. But he does more than that if he is prayed to for something beyond that. That is to guide us out of this material world. So as long as we operate in the relative field, we cannot find ourselves coming out of this relative field. But when we pray to Paramatma, and also clean our heart so that when Paramatma provides some indication that we can understand it, it's important that one engages in Bhakti Yoga. And in this case, Lord Brahma is the perfectly pure via medium of Lord Vishnu. Therefore, he appeared in front of Agnidra and blessed him with the company of Purvachitti. It's going to come up in this pastime that he marries Purvachitti, he has 9 sons from her, and she returns back to the heavenly realm. And because she has gone away, and he is lamenting the absence of her company, after death, he goes back to the same planet where she is there. So that's the story. And then one of his first sons, Nabhi, he marries, all the 9 brothers, they marry the 9 daughters of King Meru. So the first daughter is Meru Devi. So King Nabhi and Meru Devi, they marry and they have Rishabh Dev as their son. So this pastime is unfolding to the appearance of Maharaj Rishabh Dev, which in the 5th chapter is a set of instructions from Lord Rishabh Dev. Any questions, comments?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your class. You were explaining the importance of becoming an instrument,
Mm-hmm.
as that's only an instrument is the one who the super soul uses as a medium
Correct.
to carry out his desires. So when we're not fully in that consciousness, but we're aspiring for that, and a situation comes where we could either be used as an instrument, or our false ego is telling us to try and control and manipulate. Could you please share some, Maharaj always says hit the pause button and then go through a series of contemplations. So could you please share some contemplations that we should go through when that situation arises after we hit the pause button?
Well, if we hit the pause button, I think we've already made it. I think the question, if you don't mind, should be, how do I recognize to hit the pause button first? Because in the question we're assuming we hit the pause, we actually don't. We actually hit the devotee. Pause! Bam! The tendency, the ability to hit the pause button is influenced by the mode of goodness. So unless one is actually in the mode of goodness, one wouldn't even think of that as an alternative. Because if it's not the mode of goodness, then the mode of passion or ignorance are active. And in the mode of passion, the tendency is reactive. And in ignorance, it is something like, lamentation. Boo-hoo, they said like that to me, they did this to me, I am like that. So unless one is in goodness, and this is a practice, the practice is to be in goodness in all other activities. So we consider in that situation how to be in goodness. If you're not practicing to be in the mode of goodness in general, don't make it technical. I suppose we're supposed to be in transcendence. Not like that. Goodness in the sense that regulation, etc. But if you're not in the mode of goodness, then one wouldn't consider. Now, the other picture is also wrong, or not complete, that those who are in the mode of goodness means it takes forever to respond. It's not like that either. It takes forever to respond. Meaning someone asks us a question, Prabhu, can you please turn off the lights now? Pause button. Let me see. Maharaj said, I should have hit the pause button. Like that. It's straightforward. Yes or no. So anyway, the point is, unless one comes to mode of goodness, considering to hit the pause button is not an option. So how are we cultivating mode of goodness? There should be other aspects of our life that are in goodness. Proper waking up, chanting our rounds, studying of Shastra, with the intelligences in the mode of goodness, etc. Being clean. I did not know this so well. I learnt during this visit of Maharaj that one of the aspects of cleanliness is to be non-fruitive. That was fantastic for me to hear. So, cleanliness is a quality of goodness. So, to becoming progressively free of fruitive tendency, then hitting the pause button is an option. Now that assuming we hit the pause button, The contemplation is, in the mode of goodness, the contemplation is, what is the right response? Where must this person be coming from? Can I know more? Or what is happening with me right now? How can I respond? And the higher, the transcendental response would be, how can I serve Krishna and this person in this situation? What's the best way I can serve them? And to know how to serve someone, we need to know where we are at. If we don't know where we are at, we can't serve anyone. So the contemplations then is to ask Krishna to allow us to be his instrument in that circumstance. You want reference? Is the beginning of second canto in the Bhagavatam. At the end of first canto, Parikshit Maharaj and they have met, and just when the second canto begins, Parikshit Maharaj asks question. He asks two questions. What is the duty of a person who's about to die? What is the most important activity? And Shukadeva Goswami, there's a series of prayers there. Shukadeva Goswami offers prayers to Lord Krishna that may my words be empowered to speak what you would like for me to speak. There's a whole set of verses there. That means he's asking to be empowered so he doesn't speak what he thinks, but he's the via medium for Krishna to speak through him. So it's important. How do we serve someone in that situation? Now, in the case of very pure personalities, because it's their nature, whatever they say is what is Krishna speaking. In our case, there is this pause button. We have to ask Krishna, can you please tell me what to say? And it's not like a little voice that says, psst, psst, say this. Oh, Prabhu. It doesn't operate like that. Then the more we are aligned, to that degree we can respond. So you ask the question, but we are not pure and there is mixture. Then we should know that whatever we say and do comes with a mixture. And it's the same proportion of purity that we are carrying. Preaching, example. We say to someone something in our preaching, and they hear us, oh, okay. The same person may hear Prabhupada say something. It makes perfect sense to them. And we might think, I also said the same thing. But the potency of Prabhupada's speech is different. So there's potency in our speech also, but it's to the proportion of our purity. So then when we are interacting, then we understand something will come back that didn't really fit in, and I take responsibility for that. Or at least I'll find out what is going on to know how much is coming from my impure state versus how much is their problem. Is that okay? Does that help? It's a long drawn answer. Dr. Richard?
My question, Prabhu, is you mentioned to survive in this world, one must realize that they are dependent upon another. We recognize that being in a community. I just wanted to know if you could, because I've thought about this before, there's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says that, I think it's something to the effect that a self-realized person doesn't answer to anyone, or it's not exactly those words,
right.
but the essence, you know what I'm talking
I don't know which verse you're referring to, but there are two verses. One verse is the Devarshi Bhutapta Nirnam Pratanam Nayam Kinkaro Rini Charajan Yaha Sarvatmana Sharanam Saranyam Kato Mukundam Pariharta Kritam. That verse has both aspects. But in general, we are indebted to a long list of personalities. We're dependent on them. And it says that one who's fully sheltered by Krishna, they're not indebted anymore. Another verse is Atma Ramascha Munaya Nirgranthi Urukrame. Actually, Nirgrantha means scripture. But Grantha also means not. That means we are bound by Vedic injunctions. But a person who's Atma Rama, the one who's completely situated in the self, is not bound by the Vedic injunctions. This is Krishna's instruction to Arjuna also. That the Vedas, they speak in flowery language, different instructions. But try to transcend that. And then he says, for a person who is situated in transcendence, for such a person there is nothing more to be heard. Means that they are not guided by or bound by the injunctions of the Vedas. They are simply directed by Krishna. Okay. Yeah, Leela Manjari. Okay. Who's asking?
Carlos Prabhu. He's saying a pure devotee should live in the temple, or purity can be cultivated outside the temple. I know it's hard, but I'm saying under the assumption one could do it.
Read the last sentence again.
I know it's hard, but I'm saying under the assumption one could do it.
Prabhupada says temple is for neophytes. Meaning, first of all, the answer is one can cultivate purity anywhere. One can be anywhere and be pure. Practically, better to be in the temple. Because anywhere means too many distractions. Let's say it this way. A pure person can be anywhere. Can be in the temple, can be in the forest, can be in the city, can be anywhere. In fact, Prahlad Maharaj says that I'm on this side of the Viraja river, means in the material realm. Narayana para sarve no kutascha bibhyati swarga apavarga narka apitulyartha darshanam. So a pure devotee can be anywhere and not be disturbed. For cultivating purity, we need proper association. And it is assumed that the temple provides such association. It provides all the 9 forms of bhakti, 9 elements of bhakti to be practiced, starting with Shravanam, Kirtanam, etc., all 9. Because the immature devotee operates with undisturbed mind and senses, it is very difficult to live in abstract conditions and think that the mind and senses will be fully controlled. So Prabhupada described that one should either be living in the temple or make their place of dwelling like a temple. Temple basically means there is the Sri Murti of the personality of Godhead. In a very advanced stage, one is not dependent on Sri Murti per se. The holy name is all that they need. Like the Goswamis of Vrindavan, although they had constructed temples, they were happy in Nam Bhajan, under a tree, just chanting. It didn't matter whether they had a deity or not. Of course, special rasa is there, so they have deities. But they're simply dependent on the holy name. For most persons, that's not possible. They have to have the form of the deity to be able to get a personal conception of God, to be able to use their senses in serving God, etc. Now, even great personalities, even if they're fully liberated, they may serve the form of the Lord. When we hear of Maharaj Ambarish, although he was top level devotee, it's described that he used to be in the temple. Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunana varnane, etc. And what he used to do. So in one sense, place is irrelevant from the sense of, or from the perspective of the pure devotee. From the perspective of the not yet pure devotee, an environment that fosters purity is very important, helpful. In fact, I would say must. Yes, Rasika Manjari.
I'm thinking that is it fair to say that somebody who is always acting under guidance is allowing oneself to be an instrument of Krishna?
Yeah.
Then why?
I mean, if they follow the guidance, yes.
Right.
I can ask this and do that.
So I have certain images of a few devotees who have fortune of being associated with, who could be said that they may not be the kind who take initiative, but they're the kind who really see themselves as a servant of the servant of the servant, and they always want to be told, like, you tell me how to do this and how to do, and it seems like they're always protected because they're then being an instrument of Krishna. So then why would one ever want to take initiative then when that seems to be a clearly protected position? Is it a nature of a person that's pushing it? Is it a requirement? Like, to me then I feel like little fear, you know what I mean? Why should I go down that path when I know this other one is safe?
Well, first of all, there's a difference in acting as Krishna's instrument and being fully pure. So some persons need to be told, do this, and they will do. And they'll do it nicely. But they need to be told, do this, now you do that, you do this, now you do that. And within that is their purification, meaning they will face things either in terms of challenges or something. But one of the things with that is that the danger is a person will stop using their intelligence. There's a danger. The danger is, oh, now I have an obstacle. What to do? I don't know what to do. I go back to whoever and for guidance. This is an obstacle. What to do? And they will go on. So training is necessary. When you're faced in this situation, this is what you do. And there is some expectation. Oh, I shouldn't say expectation. Somehow in devotee language, that's like a curse word. There is some hope that a person will develop maturity enough to understand in this situation what is to be done. And it doesn't mean that they're not guided. It is that they are guided by past training. But it's always nice to check in. So that's that. Second is there is always room for initiative in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada described the 3 levels of a disciple. So the first level of disciple is has to be told what to do and may or may not do that properly. The second level of disciple is he or she is told something and they do that perfectly well. And the third, the top quality one, is anticipates, understands what is necessary and does the needful. So that's initiative. Doesn't have to be told. So initiative is nice.
I was hearing Prabhupada the other day when he was saying that our intelligence is to be able to just follow the instructions.
That is correct.
That is intelligent, like to drop your own intelligence and follow. That's I don't mean it that way, and I'm
No, I understand.
paraphrasing. So I don't know. I'm feeling like there's so much more shelter in another position.
That's how it feels in an immature stage. For example, Prabhupada. Prabhupada got his instructions from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. But when he came in 1965, guidance per se is not available, except from whatever the acharyas have written, and knowing the mood of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
How will we ever know that we know?
How do we know that we know? Well, we know when we know. When we understand the mood of the spiritual master, when we have had past experiences, we consult with other Vaishnavas, and we're just open to receiving higher guidance. It's always nice. It's possible. How do I know I know? Well, that's what is the being the... is your question, how do I know that when I'm right for sure?
Yeah.
You can't know.
Because sometimes the
Cannot know.
outcomes are so negative.
Cannot
it
know.
just seems like. So how do we know we're protected then in that situation and that Krishna is pleased? Like.
We will know whether Krishna is pleased or not. That much we will know. But no devotee ever thinks, I'm 100% right in this situation. The devotee always thinks, given whatever I know, what I have asked and shared with other devotees, this is what I think I'm right. And I'm open to understanding if there is another dimension to this. The reference is, at least to me, is Vipra Dharma Achyuta Ashraya. This from Bhishma Dev's prayer. You like that verse. So in that verse, he's saying, one wouldn't know. Even Yudhishthir Maharaj, who's supposed to know everything, was lamenting. Is this the right thing? Did we do the right thing here? And he says, yes, because you've lived by these 3 principles. However, we can be put in circumstances where Krishna is broadening the horizons for us far beyond our circumstance. And so there's always more to, oh, I didn't see that. Or that's nice to know. So it's not important whether we are right or wrong. That's not important actually. What is important is in that circumstance, being wrong is what Krishna wants us to see. See? Like that. Does that answer? Okay. Ashraya Prabhu.
It's already 8:30, thanks.
What did you say?
I said it's already 8:30, I know, so thank you for taking the question.
Oh, okay. So I can just take the question and not answer.
As you like. What can I do? In relation to what she was saying, it is related to what I was thinking already. One thing that I thought of was, like you were saying, purification for some persons comes in very, structured training, like they have to be told what to do. and other people will have more initiative. So it's also just based on our natures, kind of Shudra, Kshatriya, etc. kind of things. Prabhupada would put people at temple president position, and they would make all kinds of decisions on their own, and mistakes, and then he would, correct them, and then they would learn like that. And other people, they would just had to do what they were told all the time. Both of them are getting training at the same time. Neither of them is a pure person, or supposed to be even. They're both trying to follow, but they don't have the same capacity. So one reason one person may take initiative is because that's their nature, that they're going to do something. So then the spiritual master engages them in a way that they can use their initiative for purification. That made sense to me. I don't know. That's one reason. It's just another facet of the question from my perspective. Sometimes you have to take initiative because your nature is not to just sit there and do nothing. You have to do something. So then you have to think, what's the best way I can serve? And then you'll make mistakes and learn like that. So does it make sense?
Generalizing it like that, I'm having difficulty, because I can think of many situations where something must be done, but it's actually better not to do anything. Meaning, initiative, I'm thinking, where is the line between initiative and being independent-minded? One of the issues with the modern context of people, or the modern personalities, is the very independent-minded. So, initiative is different from being independent-minded. Although Prabhupada said we should all become independently thoughtful, which is different from being independent-minded. Independent-mindedness means, to me, I take initiative, and I take initiative without even considering what is the impact on others.
That's not devotional service at all. That's just like random activity.
you may, although we're seeing it like that, may be very surprising that many people put that under the realm of devotional service.
Huh.
It happens.
Yeah.
Krishna inspired. That was Krishna's inspiration to me, like that. So that's just
I see what you're saying.
caution before
Generalizing
we
it too much.
generalize. Initiative is okay.
Okay. Maybe in the context that maybe more made sense in the way that I was saying, like they're put in a particular service, do this service, but without specific guidance on how to do it. That's the spiritual master's prerogative. This person, I want him to take his initiative to try to carry it out. And then when he makes mistakes, then there will be some training that's given. Like yesterday I heard a statement like Prabhupada gave one devotee a service of managing something. He said, you grow this project and then you enjoy it. That was the way that he expressed it. And so, in this particular case, the devotee built the project very big, and then he became like a sense gratifier and he fell down. So, that's not what the point was that Prabhupada wanted to make. But Prabhupada didn't give him like pinpoint, moves to make in the service. It's like sometimes the person has that mentality, and the only way they're going to be able to make some progress is whatever. They have to learn the hard way or whatever, something like that. Or it may be their nature. They want to control and they constantly keep doing that. So here's some service where you can utilize that. And then within that you have to take some initiative. Anyway, I'm not trying to make it a huge thing. I'm just saying that's another aspect of it. Not everybody is going to fit into the you do this, you do that category, because their psychophysical thing is not going to handle it. I think, anyway. I don't think it's possible.
Well, it also, for such a person, there are some things that they will follow and some things they will be of initiative. I think it depends on the person, the circumstances, the time, the place, a bunch of factors. So generalizing, I'm uncomfortable, but it depends on many factors as to what might be the right mixture of these things.
other aspect was that when we, like you were saying, being open to higher guidance, it doesn't always mean that there's going to be a person who's going to tell us something. Sometimes you just are open to the circumstances to see what's the response that comes from that. I'm not saying something, adding something to what you're saying, or like you don't know this already. I'm just expressing like something that I understand.
Yeah.
Is that you have to want to know whether it's going to work or not, to be able to perceive whether it works or not. It's like
A general, while that is true, a general formula is to always check with someone. It's always a person to check with. Always. Doesn't matter. Even Lord Ramachandra, who was the personality of Godhead and the king of Ayodhya, referred to Vasishta Muni and others to check, is this all right? Does this make sense? Yes, please do it like this. All right. Parikshit Maharaj checked with the great sages. Should I be doing something like this? What should I be doing? Etc.
Yeah.
Jai Jagannath wanted to say something, and then Leela Manjari. Is it all right if we go over a few minutes, couple of minutes?
That the guidance that we get is supposed to, the language that's coming to my mind is augment our priti bhajan. And then Krishna says the Dami Buddhi Yogam Tam. So I was wondering if the initiative is coming from that place. It's an inner inspiration depending on the degree of advancement of the devotee in terms of his priti bhajan, like how much he's actually developed in Krishna consciousness. And the reason I was wondering about that, I was thinking in the context of becoming like senior devotee in the movement. And you're senior most, now everyone's looking to you for guidance. And you don't have exactly so many personalities that you'll be looking up to. So at that time, you seem more or less obliged to take the initiative. And it's a question.
Lord Brahma here, in this case, he is the first being in the universe. So he's taking initiative. He's not calling, hold on, Agnidra. Prabhu, should I say this? I'm just confirming that's what you're telling me. He's going to speak to him now, directly. I was also, part of initiative is that there is, it moves into the realm of Lalasamai. My attention was going to Narottam Das Thakur's song, Radha Krishna Pranamura, and this whole way in which he wants to serve. That's taking initiative. He's saying, I want to serve this way and this way. But yes. One second, in order, unless you'd like to defer to our guest.
It's an internet question, so whatever you like.
You're the boss. You want to give priority to internet or live person?
Okay, I'll just read it. I'm not sure what the question is also.
She likes to be the boss. Go ahead.
Can you please give some examples of mother placing spiritual attachment to their children?
Can I give some examples of what?
Mother placing spiritual attachment to their children.
Mother placing spiritual attachment to their children. Who's asking?
Archana Vaidya.
Oh.
I don't know really good English, but maybe you understand. I'm asking the Mahabharata Granth, they have a king of Bharat. I want to know his wife's name. Maybe you guys know.
In Mahabharata, wife of Bharat.
Yeah, Bharat, king of Bharat. They start with Mahabharata.
It's in this canto. Her name is Panchajani.
Pardon me?
Panchajani.
Panchajanani?
Not Panchajanya. Panchajani.
Panchajanani.
Jani.
And what has his Bharat mother's name?
Hmm?
King of Bharat mother's name.
What is Rishabdev's wife's name?
Like that
What is Rishabdev's wife's name?
Like the Bhishma Pitamaha mother name is Ganga. Like that Bharat king, mother name is something.
Yeah, I'm asking if you remember King Rishabdev's wife's name. Rishabdev married who? Can we talk about this after the class is over?
Yeah.
I have to look and tell you?
Yeah, you can look at it and tell me later on.
Okay, thank you.
Very well.
Hare Krishna. So, spiritual, I was going to say it shortly. Spiritual attachment of a mother is to make sure that she provides the best environment, best training possible for the child to become Krishna conscious, and not pressure the child to become a mixed devotee. Mixed devotee means best of both the worlds. Ivy League. That's a little too much to put on the kid. If the kid naturally becomes like that, that's fantastic. And the second aspect of spiritual affection is to not make too much distinction between my child, my children, and someone else's child and children. Affection must go equally, because everyone is Krishna's children. So most important thing is if the mother, or for that matter parent, can develop their own Krishna consciousness to see that the child or the children are Krishna's parts and parcels that we are given for babysitting for a very long time. We're transcendental babysitters as parents. Think of it that way. On behalf of Krishna. Okay, we're really late. We'll pick up this some other time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yeah, I'm coming to you. We'll talk.